Ron.
We're going to go ahead and get started and open up the public hearings. We have 4 hearings for tonight. First hearing is amendment to section 425 sign regulation. Jack, you want to address that?
Sure.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. First, I'd like to ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, the public hearing notice, and my P&Z report. This is a proposed amendment to section 425 sign regulations, ADM 63, and it is to include temporary signs as a permitted sign within the RC1 and RC2 zoning districts.
Is there anybody in the audience that want to address pro or con on the sign issue? If so, come forward at this time and state your name, and we'll hear what you got to say. All right, not hearing from anyone, I'm going to close that section of the public hearing and open public hearing amendment to section 405-185 OPR district.
Once again, I'd like to ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, public hearing notice, and my P&Z report. This is a proposed amendment to section 405.105, the OPR district, ADM 64. It is to eliminate the public hearing requirement and revise the existing code to state that all special event permit applications must be submitted a minimum of 10 days prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission's regularly scheduled meeting in order to be placed on the Planning and Zoning Commission's agenda.
Anybody from the audience want to address the OPR district issue? 10 days. Not hearing from anyone. I'm going to close that hearing, and we'll open Discount Tire at 2405 North Highway 47 hearing.
Okay, once again, I'd like to ask to make part of the public hearing record, municipal code by reference, public hearing notice, and my P&Z report. This is a proposed site plan SP 76 approval request for a Discount Tire Incorporated store to be located at 2405 North Highway 47 to include retail sales, installation, and repair of automobile and light truck tires. This property is zoned C3 Highway Commercial. Per Appendix A, this use is permitted along with a conditional use permit approval, and the applicant has turned in a request for conditional use permit approval.
Anyone from the public want to comment on the Discount Tire program? If so, would you come to the podium and give us your name, please?
Mr. Dyer, my name is Greg Guyett. I own the building. 16 years ago, whenever I came into town, I gave $50 for a building permit. I was told to stay off the highway right away, stay 10 foot off the property line, and as of yesterday, I think we're up about $10,000 to try and get this fella into that building to rent. I own the ground. I've had to pay $2,000 for a sidewalk. I don't know where they're going to put it, but he's been held up 3 months now. He is not bringing in any revenue to the city of Warrenton. Same with the 31 empty buildings in town, the empty mall. Nobody's making a nickel off of this. I'd like to know why it's going to take so long to get this fella into there. Can somebody give me an answer why he can't get in there?
Well, this is not the time that we get into the discussion. That's farther in our agenda tonight.
Okay.
The purpose of this hearing is to hear from you, what you have to say.
What I would like is a receipt for that $2,000 sidewalk that might get put in. Apparently I've got to put a sidewalk up there. There's not a sidewalk between there and Aldi. I don't know where in the world folks are going to use that sidewalk, but that's something I would like to take up with the board soon.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anyone else would want to comment on the public hearing part on the tire store? I'm going to close, not hearing from anyone, I'll close that public hearing and move on to the last public hearing on the Discount Tire, 2405 North Highway 47. Jack?
I'd like to ask to make part of the public hearing record, the municipal code by reference, public hearing notice, and my P&Z report. This is a proposed conditional use permit, CUP approval request for a discount tire store to be located at 2405 North Highway 47, and it's to allow retail sales, installation, and repairs of automobiles and light trucks.
Is there anyone from the public want to comment further on that issue? Not hearing from anyone, then I'm going to close the public hearing. And at this time, I want to open the Board of Aldermen meeting for the City of Warrenton on December 17, 2013. At this time, I'm going to ask Alderman Dreyer to lead us in the pledge. If everyone would stand and face the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes for the regular board meeting minutes on November 19, 2013. Are there any additions or corrections or changes? If not, hearing from no one, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the regular board meeting minutes from November 19th, 2013.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Flake, seconded by Alderman Dreyer to approve the regular board meeting minutes from November 19, 2013. Roll call, please.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Abstain, I was not here.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0 with one abstention. Regular board meeting minutes from December 3, 2013. Any additions or corrections? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the regular board meetings from minutes from December the 3rd.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Casterly, second by Alderman Clark. Is that right on that? That we accept and approve the regular board meeting minutes from December 3rd, 2013. Roll call, please.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0 with one abstention. Item 4 on the agenda is hearing from the public, and we do this each meeting time to give a member of the public a chance to address the Board of Aldermen. If you have an issue that you want to bring forward, we ask that you come forward individually at the podium, give us your name, state the purpose of your business. We ask that you keep your remarks civil and that you limit your remarks to 5 minutes or less. Would someone want to address the board at this time? Mrs. Dreyer?
My name is Margaret Dreyer, and I'm here to talk to you about something that the ladies who've been going to curves would like to see happen. I'd like to see you seek in some way with the city and possibly in cooperation with the county to make a fitness center available to the over 55 crowd. I talked to some of you on the phone last night, left phone message for Mr. Ock, I believe, to kind of put you aware of what's going on. We just found out that the Curves facility is going to close at year end, and we're rather upset about it. There's about 35 to 50 women that use this facility each week, and there are over 165 members. Not everybody is there every day. If it closes, we'll have no place to go for the type of exercise that we need. The curve circuit consists of many units that concentrate on specific muscles or groups of muscles. Between each machine is a recovery station for aerobic exercise. It requires about 30 seconds at each station, and an entire circuit takes about 30 minutes. This is a recommended routine. It's 2 circuits, 3 times a week. Many of us have problems with knees and hips and we can't use treadmills, step machines, bicycles, or lift weights. Someone suggested that we look at reps, but I understand they're possibly going to change, and there's nobody there, and it's in a kind of a dark place. It's kind of worrisome. I myself am no longer able to walk for an extended time, such as around the circuit at Binkley Park. We've got a lovely facility there, but we can't all use it. Many of us can't walk more than a block or two, if that far. However, the circuit provides the ability each 30 seconds or so to rest certain muscle groups, therefore making it possible to get the needed exercise. Some doctors have even advised their patients to keep going to curves. It's good to keep your joints moving. Actually, a quote in the Post-Dispatch this morning about exercise said, "You often will hear advice of at least 20 minutes a day of a modest intensity, at least 3 times a week." Besides fitness, social groups have formed which enhances the enjoyment of exercising rather than being boring. We recently completed a 1-month weight loss competition in November, during which 11 people lost about 44 pounds. These type of things are kind of ongoing. Just every once in a while they'll bring up something new. There are other good reasons for continuing this effort. It gives people a reason to get out of bed and get going. If my group wouldn't be wondering where I was, some mornings I might just say, "Oh, I'm not going to go. I don't need to go today." It is an incentive to get up and get out. Also, we're up and around and spending money at local businesses. Some are from out of the county, and this brings them here to make purchases. I know of one example where a member had been going to the city for hair care and changed to a local salon. We need for you and the recreation director to look into the problem and hopefully find a solution for us. I know, if our rec center had been completed, we would have had this covered. However, this hasn't happened yet. And while I'm on that subject, do not sell that land. In a few years, we will get our rec center. It'll get passed, and the land would then be much more expensive. It isn't costing us anything to let it sit there until we need it. I remember that the CEO of Contel, the company I worked for, Charles Bolstetter, said, "They aren't making any more of it." Where would you find a piece of land that ideal for that purpose? Personally, I think Elliott Davis needs to investigate things in the correct light before he makes a judgment. Thank you. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that you can do something. If anybody's got any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
I'll just make a brief comment. I thank you for your comments. I mean, that's an interesting concept and challenge that you put before the city. I don't think we want to be in competition with the other fitness centers. That's not our purpose. But I think it's something the Recreation Department may want to look at and see if we can partner up maybe with the County Nurses Association or something like that, and we'll take a look at it.
Well, I believe Jenny is talking to the County Health Department to see if she's even checking to see if there's some way she could donate the equipment she's got.
Okay.
But it's going to take some effort, and this is just something that suddenly came up, and we're getting desperate.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to address the board? Come forward at this time and give us your name.
Mr. Mayor, Board, my name is Bob Dowdle. I'm with the Village of Trustees of Innsbrook. And I feel that I had the privilege of talking to Karen a couple of weeks ago, and we have a mutual problem with stray dogs, stray cats, no place to take them, and they end up being put down. What we're trying to do is get with our surrounding neighbors and get together and possibly present a plan to Warren County. As our county is growing, there's a real need for a no-kill shelter in our area, but we don't have that right now. So we're just trying to lay the groundwork now to see if people would be interested around the areas like Truesdale, Warrenton, Wright City, Forestell, Montgomery City, and we've gotten some very positive feedback. So I'm just giving you a base plan of what we would like to do and hopefully get Warrenton involved, and maybe we can, as a group, present something to Warren County instead of going as individuals. Because I think, like I said, our county is growing, and I think there's a need for this.
I don't know, does anyone have any comments on it? I mean, I think we would like to be part of your discussion.
Sure.
To see, you know, what can be done, and I mean, we've kind of done it on our own. I think before my time, we partnered up with the county on it and tried to do a co-op, and it didn't work out very well for us. So we went back to just doing it on our own, but we would be open to sitting down at the table.
Because, like I said, we have a problem where people just dump their dogs.
We do too.
And fortunately, I found one in July, and we've kept him.
Yeah.
But it's a growing problem, and a growing concern. And I mean, I hate to see animals put down. There's a lot of good animals that would like to have a lot of good homes, I'm sure, if we could work this out.
And I don't even know how we even got on this conversation in that sub-zero day, but we
I know.
did outside on Main Street, because I'm just appalled when we see those lists every month of the number of dogs we put down. I'm assuming they're dogs. They may be dogs and cats.
Yeah, mostly cats.
Mostly cats.
I had the privilege, we went out to Herman, Missouri, where there is a no-kill shelter, and talked with Ray and Sue out there. They have space for 59 dogs. They told us their annual bill for dog food, they go through 2,000 pounds a month. Their vet bills run around $15,000 a year. But they have an adoption program set up where the dogs are neutered, spayed, and shots. They charge $150 for a dog. But they sign an agreement saying if they do not keep the dog or it doesn't work out, they return it to them and they refund $150. But it's, you know, he said, we get more dogs than we can handle. And apparently there is not really anybody else around the area that has a no-kill shelter. And like I said, I know we're putting a lot of dogs and cats down that maybe don't need to be if we could find them homes and that. But I will keep you posted on how we're doing, and we would thank you for your support, and I will get back with you on it.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Any
Thank you for the time.
questions for
Any
Todd?
questions?
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it very much.
Is there, please come forward.
Mayor, will there be time to speak during the public hearing concerning that discount tire?
Well, I've closed those hearings, but we are going to discuss it as part of our agenda item later on in the program tonight.
I'll go ahead.
Can you give me some background on who you're representing?
The Hine family farm on Highway 47.
Okay, and their interest is what? Oh, the neighboring?
Yeah, across the street.
Okay. Let us see where we go in our regular program.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to address the board at this time? Not hearing from anyone from the public, I'm going to extend that same courtesy to the Board of Aldermen. Anybody that want to comments to the public? We'll start off with Alderman Dreyer. You're good? Alderman Flake?
Well, I'd just like to wish the city employees and all the residents of the city a Merry Christmas and a happy and safe New Year. And also with Guy's department, the snow plow and maintenance men, they've done an excellent job on keeping our streets clean in the last snow, and I didn't get any phone calls, and that's unusual, so that means that they're doing their job.
Did a good job.
There you go.
Very good.
Phone was off the hook.
Pass that on, Guy. Pass that on to the men.
Good point. Alderman Cornell?
Not tonight.
You're nothing?
Nothing tonight.
Wow. I figured he was going to say everything I wanted to say. So, Guy, yes, I did get phone calls from residents, which, you know what, I think it was a great opportunity because it gave me a chance to talk to them about 1,000 other things. So every time someone has trouble with snow, they're going to get a whole earful of everything else we're doing good in the city. So, thank you for doing a great job. I wanted to comment a little bit about our hometown Christmas. It was, I had a blast that evening. I'm disappointed at the turnout, but when it's, I think, 16 degrees out, you can't expect too much. But I was very pleased with the people that were here, and it was a great opportunity just to kind of visit around on Main Street. But particularly, I'm ashamed that I have not spent the time I should down at our wonderful museum. So for the record, for anybody who tunes in tomorrow morning when this gets posted on YouTube, I really hope people take the time to go down to our city museum. They have done an absolutely fabulous job there capturing the history of our community.
I agree. Alderman Ock?
Nothing.
Alderman Clark?
Yes, I'd like to thank the Downtown Association and the City of Warrenton and Tourism for the Christmas celebration that Karen was referring to. Also, I would like to point out the fact that it was predicted by myself that we would win the first place in the chili cook-off, and the mayor and I accomplished it.
Good thing there weren't more than 2 people, huh?
Four entries.
Yeah, that's right. That wasn't necessary.
And under our tent, I'm telling you, it was toasty and real nice, so.
We were prepared.
Yes.
You're right about that. Anyone else from the board? I just got one comment. I want to make the public aware that the filing dates opened this morning at 8 o'clock for actually four positions. Alderman 1 has an opening, Alderman 2 has an opening, Alderman 3 has an opening, and the mayor's position has an opening. So that date's run through the 21st of January. Am I right on that? So anybody that has an interest in city government, now's the time to throw your name in the hat and see if we can get you elected. So, and that's all I have. So I'm going to move on. My next item on the agenda, wait a minute, I have some appointments to make. I'm getting out of turn
But
here.
we were going to get past this.
Pardon me?
Go on.
We've got some appointments to make that I need approval from the board on. My first appointment is a 5-year term to appoint Ron Jergesmeyer to replace Ginger Myrick. Alternate A, Keith Schwab. Alternate B, Mike Kendall. And alternate C, Ron Dickey. So these are all P&Z people that are moving up to the different positions within the P&Z.
Make a motion to approve the mayor's appointment to the Board of Adjustment of Ron Jergesmeyer, Ginger Myrick, Keith Schwab, and Mike Kendall, and Ron Dickey.
To replace Ginger Myrick.
I'm sorry, to replace.
To replace
Ginger Myrick.
Ginger Myrick. Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Cornell, second by Alderman Casterly to approve the mayor's appointment to the Board of Adjustments for Ron Jergesmeyer, Keith Schwab, Mike Kendall, and Ron Dickey. Could I have a roll call vote on that, please, if there's no other discussion?
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. On item 6, number 2, Building Board, I have a 2-year term to reappoint Gary Scott, Fred Flake, and appoint Rick Brohigan-John as members of the Building Board. Rick is a new person coming on. He's replacing Melvin Sickford. Melvin said he's too old to serve on that board. So I tried to coax him into one more term, and he said no. So I would entertain a motion to appoint those 3 individuals.
I'll make a motion that we appoint a 2-year term reappointment for Gary Scott, Fred Flake, and appoint Rick Brohigan-John to the Building Board.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Casterly, seconded by Alderman Flake to appoint to the Building Board the 2-year term reappointment Gary Scott and Fred Flake, and appoint Rick Brohigan-John. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Abstain, I'm on that list.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0 with 1 abstention.
And you still are.
On planning and zoning, I have a 4-year reappointment term for Rich Barton, who's the chairman of that board now, and Keith Schwab. If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion to reappoint those 2 individuals.
Make a motion to approve the mayor's reappointment of Rich Barton and Keith Schwab to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Cornell, seconded by Alderman Flake to approve the mayor's reappointment to the Planning and Zoning Board, actually reappointment to Rich Barton and Keith Schwab. Roll call, please.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 4 is the Tourism Commission. I have a 3-year appointment to appoint Janet Polish to that board. Janet has served on that board in the past. Her term, actually, her term ran out and she was not eligible to be reappointed until, I think it had, a year had to pass, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, that year has passed, and I've got a vacancy on there, and I'd like to reappoint her to the Tourism Board.
Make a motion to approve the mayor's appointment of Janet Polish to the Tourism Commission.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Cornell, seconded by Alderman Casterly, to approve the mayor's appointment to the Tourism Board, Janet Polish. Roll call, please.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 8 on the, or 9 on, or 7 on the agenda, I'm jumping the gun here, getting in a hurry. 7 on the agenda is the acceptance of Moccasin Drive. I don't know who wants to address that. Jack, is that something you want to address, or Guy? Or who wants to lead that discussion?
On accepting it, that we've been taking care of it since about 1998, if we can recall. We just add rock to it as needed and then plow it.
So we've been maintaining it even though it hasn't been accepted previously.
Am I correct in that the county actually owns the street
That I do not know for sure.
on there? Do we know that for sure?
I believe that's correct, Mayor. In 1990, Whispering Pine was turned over to the city by the county. This is that little street off of Whispering Pine, and it appears that it has just never been turned over to the city. So our belief is that it still belongs to the county, since it's never, and there's no recording at the courthouse of it ever being turned over to anyone else by the county.
And there's a very limited number, looks like maybe, what, a duplex and one home on that street?
That's what it appears, yes.
And maybe Guy knows the length of that street?
200 feet.
200 feet, so not a big deal, but the issue, I guess it fell through the cracks somewhere, and we have been maintaining it as though it belonged to the city. And have we had complaints on, I mean, how did this come about?
I have received no complaints on the street.
Or why is it before us now? Do you know on that, Terry?
I believe initially, Melody, weren't you contacted by a resident over there?
I believe
questioning this?
You were? Okay. And they asked whether we owned it, or?
The question came, I think you probably forwarded them to me, and the question came up whether or not the city owned the property and who maintained the property, and the questions just all kind of went from there to do the background check. It took quite a bit of background work, didn't it? to try to find the history, but it looks like it was an oversight type of situation many years ago.
Silly question, we're talking about accepting Moccasin Drive. I'm assuming the county is more than willing for us to accept that. Do we have to have the county's permission to accept?
We need them to sign a deed over.
Yes, they would have to deed it over, but
and
in the
we-
past, when the city has been interested in any county street, they've been very quick to
I would
put a
imagine.
deed together for the city to take
How
over.
quick can we get that to you?
Especially the gravel, I'm afraid by the time this
Yeah.
hits YouTube, then we may have an inquiry into it. And I just want to make a clarification. Acceptance is different than maintaining it. We have maintained it, but we've never accepted it. We're responsible legally for the safe maintenance and safety of that roadway. So, accepting it, doesn't mean that we have to bring it up to city specs or whatnot. And I want to make sure that it's clear on the record.
Okay.
So it's a whole separate discussion on whether we curb and gutter and pave and.
Yes. I think so. It's just we're responsible to maintain it and keep it safe, because at some point in the past, and that happens, where a city will plow a street, because people can't get out and it's a private street, and then you essentially take over the maintenance of that street. We've taken over the maintenance of the street, and we've maintained it, and we've plowed it, and we've brought the rock back and forth.
And we'll most likely continue to maintain it as far as that goes. I guess what I need to hear from the board is are you all interested in taking over ownership of the street?
What was the ordinance in 1990? It's in the packet. Is that not taking the street?
It does not include Moccasin, it's Whispering Pine. But we couldn't find anywhere in any of the language that it included Moccasin.
But, I mean, if it came down, if the street, if it was a sinkhole, we would be responsible to make sure the city would be, we have maintenance of that street.
Well, we've been maintaining for so long, so
Yeah.
we, in essence, have taken over ownership.
Absolutely, that's the way the law would look at it.
I guess the only question I have, do we have all the right-of-way and everything we need to improve that street or anything?
The way I understand it, it's a one lane road. I don't know what the right-of-way is. I don't know what any of that is. That's why I wanted to make the clarification that we're responsible to maintain it for safety. Maybe what we can do is see
By accepting it, we don't have to do any more than what we've been doing?
we are responsible to maintain that it's safe and that it's safe passage. So what is safety would be really, I think, a discussion the board would have to look at. We've kept it safe all these years. I don't think that there's been any, fatal accidents or anything on it. With regards to whether or not we would have to curb and gutter it or what the right-of-way would be or something like that, I mean, I think that would be a discussion for a future, after you guys decided, do you guys want to take some affirmative steps to contact the county? In the past, for example, when this has happened with the counties on the road, you guys have asked us to contact the county and say, are you interested in giving this over to us? Do you guys want us to prepare a deed or a legal? And then we can look and see how wide it is, what it is, and whatnot, to really see what we're working with here. We just know that we haven't taken it, officially accepted the land, the dedication of the street. We just have taken over maintenance by our actions.
It sounds like we've obligated ourselves.
Yeah, it's like we've been married to it for
maintain
over
it, so
7 years, so.
We might as
I
well
like to
not
find that little distinction there, but
Yeah.
that's my
Might as
job.
well not maintain something that we don't own.
Right.
So,
But I do think we should contact the county and see what their position is on this.
Okay.
but is it as long as a street requires a cul-de-sac? I'm trying to think why it was left out of the discussion. I noticed I voted no on it way back when. Because I don't remember why. I just remember I was the president of the board and I thought, well, I can vote no and not sign it, then it'll never pass. But
I don't think it met all the specs of the street, so
Well, that was the problem. It didn't meet the specs of the street, and it still doesn't.
Right.
And we would normally not accept a one-lane road that's 200 feet long without some kind of cul-de-sac in it because there's concerns about how does the fire department and
That's
ambulance get in and turn around. Those were the issues back
I'd
then.
almost consider that a driveway, not a...
Well, yeah, that's right.
And
That's all I
Alderman
look
Ock,
at.
I think that's, I mean, you tell cities and you caution cities not to start the maintenance process. I mean, we've had that issue out at Walnut Hollow where the citizens are saying, are you gonna plow our streets? And we're like, we need to make sure it's up to our city specs before we plow it. And, or you get in this situation, which is what are our improvements gonna have to be? What's our capital investment gonna have to be?
The streets just need to be up to city specs,
They're not required to be up to city specs.
but they
This-
can be a private street, and if they're up to those specs, we'll plow them for safety.
Wait, I didn't understand that, Alderman Clark.
A private street, if it's built to the city specs, will the city plow them
If
for
the city
safety?
votes to accept it, yeah.
Or they
But if
need to
they're
be
not
turned over first?
It has to be turned over. This is kind of in, I mean, I'm making a distinction, but it's marginal, as Alderman Cornell pointed out, is we've just maintained it. We have not accepted the streets or the dedication of the streets or anything. We've just said, we're going to keep it plowed, we're going to keep rock on it, we're going to keep it for safe passage. We've maintained it.
I think what I'm hearing from the board that we would like to move forward and have you contact the county and see what their position is, whether they're willing to turn it over, see what the width of the street is. You know, is it something that we can do something with at a later date, but at least start that process. Is the board pretty well in agreement on that?
I am.
On this end, are we all right on that?
Are we assuming liability if we accept a substandard street and, for example, a fire truck doesn't get down or a ambulance doesn't get down when somebody passes away in one of those residents and we knowingly took a substandard street?
I think, that's a great question. I think, Alderman, I think the reality of it is we would have some issues right now because we've already accepted the maintenance. So if there was a safety issue down there or there was someone that was injured and it was not safe to pass for some type of emergency rescue, the city would have some responsibilities there. I think that there's going to be things that have to be maintained or updated or upgraded as we look at it with regards to what can we do with this. But I just wanted to clarify for the issue right now that we're responsible to maintain it. Where do you guys want to go next? Because yes, I think there is some diligence in looking at what are we going to have to do to make sure it's safe, or as Alderman Clark said, up to city specs or cul-de-sac or whatnot.
Everybody good with that?
So your proposal is we simply sit on it till next meeting until we hear back from the
Till we
county?
hear back from Councilor
Until we get more
Gravel.
information. All right,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Can't really do
Is that fine?
anything with it not being us, anyway.
So we're going to put it in Councilor Gravel's hands for now till you report back to us at a later date. Is that fair? Do we need any motion on that?
No.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 8, discussion of proposed new building at Highway 47 in Main Street. Steve Nunn and Jay Patel. Gentlemen, you want to come forward?
First, let me thank the board for putting us on the agenda. Again, my name is Steve Noon. I'm an architect, and I represent Mr. Patel, who is also here this evening. We are here to discuss the proposed new building at, as you mentioned, at the corner of 47 and Main Street. I believe there may be a site plan that was submitted with the request. You should have that. And I realize this is not a formal request for your approval. We are simply wanting to, as a new project for myself with the city and as a new property here for my client, we wanted to just meet with the city officials to get your, propose our intent for the site improvements, and then also see if there was any concerns or questions that the city might have for us prior to engaging in the site plan and the conditional use application.
Can I ask you which building you're looking at here? Is it the old coffee shop?
I believe it is. It's a greenhouse.
Two-story.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
Polster House.
The old Polster House,
The old
right?
poster house.
Yeah.
So the idea is to take down the old Polster House and build a new building?
That's correct.
I don't know that you can, isn't that on the
No.
historic?
No,
No, it's
they
not.
tried, but they never
No.
got it.
Yeah, a few years ago, somebody had a proposal, they were gonna move it down Main Street and put it somewhere down here, but it never came to fruition.
Okay.
Never came
So, yeah,
about.
based on the one reaction of the crowd, you might get a little feedback from the public,
Fair enough.
not necessarily from
That's
the
why we're
real
here.
perspective, but
Okay. Good. Good.
Can you address to the board what you're going to put there?
The intended use is, as we said, we would tear the building down. We would, the site improvements would include new paving. The structure itself would be, it's advertised as Express Mart. It's a convenience store, sells liquor. It's like a wine and spirit store.
Not fuel.
No fuel, correct.
No fuel.
and those are uses within the zoning code,
Yes.
so.
Does it require conditional use?
It's conditional use, yes.
Yes.
And you haven't been before planning and zoning with it?
We haven't done any of that yet. Mr. Haniff, I'm sorry, has provided us all that information, so
Okay.
our intent is to pursue that. He's been more than helpful with giving us all of the information we need.
Okay.
So
Those people do a good job for us.
they do.
10 sets of eyes and ears, and they usually bring us good recommendations.
Good.
So we put a lot of faith and trust in them.
Mhm.
So I would encourage you to start that process if you're serious about it.
Yep.
And see how far we get on that.
Okay.
What is the thought on the type of structure?
It would be probably a metal structure, like a non-combustible. I'm sorry?
Class 3?
It would be probably a Type 2B building. And it would have a brick exterior, some glass, of course.
Is that lot adequately sized for parking? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I remember when the coffee shop was there was very limited parking.
currently, I've gone through and, you know, just kind of, again, done a preliminary study of the site with the current ordinances of the city, and as I've got it drawn here, and of course, this needs a lot more design and a lot more thought, but, you know, I do have it laid out per the ordinance required, with the amount of retail space that we would have with the parking is adequate, the parking is adequate for that. Of course, it hasn't been approved by Jack's office, but...
So what kind of time frame you under, or you want to be under?
For my client.
Sure.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jay Patel. So the time frame for this is ASAP. We would like to move on. But what's holding us at the moment is it is in a zoning district that requires conditional use permit. As far as the requirement, there's no church or school. It meets all the requirement, but it would, of course, need y'all's approval. Right now, the problem is the bank owns the lot and the building. So what we're trying to work with the bank and also the lady who owns the lot right next door to it to combine it together and tear it down, redo everything, put a fresh building.
I'm sorry, can I stop you? Which lot next door is your?
The lot number one. Lot number
Same
one.
lot used to be.
Lot to the east.
Okay, on the corner.
Correct.
Okay.
So the plan is to put it all together
Okay.
and you know, improve the whole corner. But since the bank owns it, and of course, as you all know, bank likes to get rid of it at the end of the year, fiscal year. So if we know that there is a positive feeling with this project, we could purchase a lot, start our process, work with the lady that owns lot number one, and move on, if there's a positive feeling. Of course, the city wanted us to, you know, do the site plan on all the things, and we would, of course, whatever it's required, we would meet it, but we just wanted to get in here and get everybody's feeling and see if you like us to move forward with the project. And it would be better if we can get the lot from the bank by the end of the year and then move on than trying to postpone it next year, because, you know, negotiation-wise, they like to do it before the end of the year. If it goes to the next, then it kind of pushes back. So
Have you looked at any other property in town?
we have, in fact, we had another one that it fell before it started. It was between that signal light and it's another between Walgreens and that I forgot the name of the street. We had it under contract for about 3 months.
Is it the brick house?
Yes, that's a brick house. But it was RC1 or RC2 zoning, and the attorney had said, well, alcohol sale would not be allowed. So it just fell through. So we've been working with Michelle, you know, economic development, and everybody try to see where we can put the location in. And we've been trying for over 2 years. We've done 3 locations after, you know, once we started this, and we kind of got rejected. We did 3 other ones, and every time we came back, let's do it, and then it would push us forward. And the thing is, you know, pricing of the lot, whether the property owners around wants to sell it, and those, I mean, there's a lot of factors that went after this, but finally it came to this where they reduced the price. It's in our workable budget for the project, and it's one of the zoning that you can put. Of course, it's I think the way it is, selling packaged liquor is conditional in everything except industrial zone. Well, you know, who's gonna go to industrial area to buy wine and spirits? So it's
Oh, yeah,
so-
no.
somebody would have to, you know, it would have to go through the conditional use, no matter where we put it, you know.
But you realize, we can only give you our opinions, but our opinions, also, you need the opinions of the zoning board. You really can't rule on something until you see it. What is the basis for denying a conditional use?
It's
That's always, it's
very
big.
difficult to legally deny conditional use. I mean, it's got to be, I mean, there's some case law on it because it's rarely done. I mean, you have a conditional right to use the property. And you have a right to, under our code and under state statute, to apply for the conditional use, even if you don't individually own it, if you have their permission to do it. So that's not keeping, you don't have to own it to apply to the city to get your conditional use. I understand for investment purposes, that's one of your concerns, but Alderman Ock, I think your point's well taken. The fact of the matter is that you have a conditional use. It's just what conditions are you going to have. I think a lot of that's going to be determined by exploring what exactly you guys are selling there, what you guys are doing, what's your traffic volume, what your hours of operation and lights and whatnot that this Planning and Zoning Commission is used to exploring with these type of projects.
Yeah, so it's not, you're not denying the use, you're putting conditions around the use to make it more compatible with the area or whatever. So we wouldn't necessarily come and say, well, you can't do packaged liquor sales, but the condition could be you can only operate till 10 o'clock at night or whatever. Those would be the type of conditions, so.
Sure, and generally, we would open the location, our locations vary from 8 o'clock in the morning, and we close at 10. Some of them close at 9. So we're not extending. Fridays and Saturday, we like 1 hour extended, so till 11 o'clock. And Sunday, we close at 9, open at 9. So those are the hours. As far as the look of the building and how professionally we're going to do it, we are professionally in this business. This is not the first rodeo that we're doing. And what I can promise you is it would be one of the best looking building there. It would be, best improvement that could be done to that lot. Is the only thing that we can promise.
Yeah, and I don't think there's really anything we can do other than to give you our opinion, but I do believe you heard a little gasp in the crowd, and I do believe if this becomes public, which it will now, you will hear quite a bit of feedback. I mean, you're talking a piece of property that's right next to a funeral home, which, although a funeral home is not a church, it is very sacred as far as a piece of property. So selling liquor next to a funeral home might not go over very well with the community. What we can't do up here, it's out of our control, I think. But I think you're going to get some pretty harsh feedback.
Well, I think if you don't make some effort to try to do something with the current building in terms of offering it to somebody to haul off and put it somewhere else. If you may do a good faith effort, I think that's going to go a long way in the project, because I think the gas wasn't because it was close to the funeral home, but that building's been in the community for so many years and got so much history. So if during the process you say, well, these are the things we try to do, we've got to help the Historical Society, these people, saying if there was somebody who was interested in taking the building off the site, because that has been proposed before, that would go a long way. At least that effort would, I think, to say, well, we did due diligence to try to do that.
I didn't, I didn't know there was a way to move the building from just one side to another.
Yeah, there's all sorts of buildings.
Not easy.
Not even,
Yeah,
not
I've
cheap.
never seen that. I don't know if there is or not.
But it can be done.
And I think, going back to your point, you could talk to the owners of the funeral home, they're real decent people, and just,
Actually, there's a building in between the funeral home and the old flower
They could
shop.
use it for that too.
They can, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. I noticed the egress, and there's two entrances that are a way in and way out. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, and we are working with, I've spoken to MoDOT to make the entrance from the Highway 47 to be an only entrance, not an exit, and use the Main Street as an entrance and exit, so it would not cause any issues for the traffic.
That was
And
my
they
point.
are willing to work with us for the entrance and expanding so it's safe.
Okay.
There is an entrance there, but they're also supporting us to make it where it's easier for the.
Are you going to sell any type of groceries, like milk and eggs?
It will have, no, it won't have eggs and things, but it would have snacks. It would have
Okay.
soda, snacks, energy drink, anything you would find in a convenience store except, full-blown fountain drinks and things like that.
Okay. Okay. Anything else from the board? I think you're on the right track. You really need to start with planning and zoning and get their blessing, and they kind of dissect everything for us and kind of go from there, and eventually it's going to fall back in our lap here, but we want them to do the groundwork first.
Okay.
And we wish you the best of luck on it.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you. Nice meeting you. Any amended agenda items? I'm ready for item 10, Terry Thorne, Director of Operations.
My two items for you this evening are just updates to two existing policies. The tobacco use policy and work and safety rules. We review policies ever so often, and In reviewing the tobacco use policy, it was discovered that breaks were spelled out in the tobacco use policy for smokers. It was not spelled out for the rest of the employees in the work and safety rules. So these changes simply put the same language and breaks being available for employees in both policies the same way.
Maybe explain that to me. So during our morning break and afternoon break, we allow our workers to smoke.
This tobacco use policy had been in place for a long time, and it basically said that smoke breaks were limited for employees to a 5-minute smoke break in the morning and a 5-minute smoke break in the afternoon. So it was brought up then by non-smoking employees, well, if they're permitted a 5-minute smoke break twice a day, why aren't other employees spelled out to get a 5-minute break morning and afternoon? So what we've done is taken the language from the tobacco use policy and included it in the work and safety rules policy so that it's fair across the board for all employees the same way.
So basically, you're eliminating the 5-minute period. You're just saying during the normal break everybody gets, that's when you get to smoke.
Right. And it's giving everybody the 5-minute period in the morning and in the
5
afternoon.
minutes isn't very long.
My only thought on this, I don't smoke. It's a nasty habit that I kicked about 7 or 8, probably about 50 pounds ago, actually.
Which way?
Yeah, it didn't go down. You would have heard about it before now. My concern is this limiting, I don't particularly have a problem if one of the guys is out on guy's shift, if he's smoking a cigarette while he's working a shovel in asphalt. I mean, surely we're not going to be driving around and, hey, you know what, this is outside your 5-minute break, you've got a cigarette hanging out of your mouth while you're outside working on a Bobcat, we're going to write you up for that. Is that?
I don't know that we've really thought it through to that point, but we do have policies that prohibit use of cigarettes in any city equipment or vehicles.
I understand that, and I'm familiar with that. But again, if a guy is standing out flagging traffic on the side of the road, are you saying he can't smoke a cigarette or have tobacco in his chewing tobacco?
I don't know that we thought it through that far, to be honest with you.
How do you supervise that guy?
Yeah.
Somebody calls and complains.
So, but you allow your employee to?
I would have issues if they were flagging traffic, standing there smoking, while actually in the public eye.
I mean, I would too, but.
But if you're standing if somebody's sitting there shoveling asphalt and smoking a cigarette, holy cow, that's pretty good. I would haven't, but like I said, standing in the middle of the street, smoking a cigarette, and then what are you gonna do with the butt? You're gonna throw it on the ground. So, yeah, I would have an issue with that. If you're standing off the side of the truck, out of the eye, smoking a cigarette during your break.
Well, but the qualifying word was there, you're on your break.
Yeah, I'm saying and take smoking out. It's chewing tobacco. I know there are several city employees that chew that, I'm sure people, I don't know if they're on your.
Or even eating.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you've given us a lot of food for thought here. I'm not sure we've thought any of this process through.
I mean, I come from an environment, when you work, you don't eat, you don't smoke, you don't chew tobacco, you work. That's my background,
And we're living in a day and age where companies have gone more and more away from tobacco. I mean, I know, and my wife might be able to answer this, but down at the SAF Holland, I don't think there's any smoking allowed in the plant down there anymore, or that's all tobacco free now. Those people weren't happy when that first started, but that's the direction that companies are moving in. I worked for a company for 30 years, and we used to let them smoke in our home office in the little cubicles, And then they decided, nah, that wasn't good. We're gonna move you to a 15-minute break in the morning, 15-minute, and then you go to smoking lounges, and then they moved it to outside, and then they finally said, you know what, there's no smoking on premises anymore, in company cars, nothing. And people really were upset, but that lasted about 2 weeks, and nobody smokes there anymore. So maybe we're doing those people a favor, and they're all healthier apart, I don't know. But it's
Yeah, I
something.
don't know that we really thought through the whole, if you're, out working on the public works crew, that question really had not been raised, to be honest with you.
Well, you need more than 5 minutes because they got to get their break to
That's right.
to the designated smoking area if they're not allowed to smoke on the job.
But
So-
for now, you're just asking, we clean up the language of the smoking policy.
I think at minimum, we need to make it fair across the board for
Across the
all
board.
employees. And
I
then if we
agree.
want
We're
to
trying-
take another look at,
Smoking.
how are we going to handle that? How are we going to manage that? Then we can certainly do that as well.
Are we talking about giving everybody an extra 5-minute break in the morning? And
They're getting it now. There is no one at the city who is currently not getting a break at least in the morning and the afternoon.
I mean, where I used to work, they used to give the smokers a break to go smoke, but the people that didn't smoke didn't get it. It was pretty aggravating.
That's not the situation.
I would assume they just said, just get your regular break and that's it. You smoke then and that's it.
They may not be going outside and walking around, but every employee gets an opportunity
Get away
to
from their desk.
get away from their desk. Maybe they're going to the kitchen and fixing their cup of tea or fixing their cup of coffee or going and getting their donut or cooking their toast or pastry. Everyone has the opportunities to do that. So even though it hasn't been official, it's been there.
I
and
say
it's
we
happening.
go along with this for now. Do we need a motion to do this?
To approve both policies.
Okay, and then we'll take another look at the tobacco use policy overall citywide at a later date. So I'll make a motion to accept the updated tobacco use policy and the updated work and safety rules. They were both under that one. Terry?
There are two policies, yes.
Okay. I make a motion to approve both of those per our papers that we have.
Do you want to, have we discussed the updated work and safety?
It's the same one. We
It's
just
the
put
same
right-
change to
Same
make
change.
them consistent,
Okay,
yes.
all right, gotcha.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion on the floor by Alderman Kessley, seconded by Alderman Dreyer, to approve the updated tobacco use policy and the updated work and safety rules policy. Roll call, please.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
No.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-1.
I need to understand your no, John.
Do you want to comment on there, Alderman Cornell?
I think that we're putting ourselves, I see this policy being violated, the tobacco use being violated on a daily basis. I just think we're putting in place a policy that we're either not going to enforce or have been unwilling to enforce at this point. That's it.
Okay.
All right.
Operational updates.
The only thing I have for you is just a reminder that the annual awards banquet is on January 11th. If you could please let Brandy or Melody know of your reservation if you plan on attending, so that we can get a correct count for the food.
The menu looked good. I saw that flyer today, and I was impressed with that, so.
You're going to see the menu a little bit later on this evening.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, we have to approve.
Oh, we have to approve?
We're getting all three of those.
I guess we know which way to push us.
I guess he's already picked it, and we just have to approve it.
I'm not commenting.
And that's all I have for
That's
you
all
this
you have?
evening.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
I'm ready to go to item 11. Greg Howdy-Shell, Chief of Police.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. The first thing I have is the monthly report from November. Nothing too remarkable there. I did want to address the new design of the criminal investigation report. Lieutenant Ellard has worked on that to supply a bit more information there. And and I think as time goes by and we tweak this a little bit, we'll be able to keep a little bit better track of what's going on with those guys, and you know, he's got some ideas to keep track of open cases and ongoing cases, so we should see some.
Before we get too carried away, I did want to compliment you on the police work on the bank robbery. I don't know whether it was all your department or mutual aid by other departments, but it worked perfectly.
That was actually the culmination of very good observation skills on the part of the teller.
Bank teller.
And everybody actually in the bank doing exactly what they were supposed to do and as they were trained, in concert with good police work, both with our agency and surrounding agencies, finding the robber and bringing that to a very quick and successful end.
Yeah.
So,
Worked
thank
good.
you.
Very impressed.
Any questions about the monthly report? Okay. The second item I have is the promotion of a new sergeant. We have an opening for a sergeant. With that being said, we posted that. 4 officers who were qualified put in for that opening. We conducted a written test and oral board. I'd like to express my thanks to Alderman Clark for helping us out with that board. At the end of the board, we had a discussion, and it was a unanimous decision that Justin Kaiser was actually the best suited for the sergeant's position. So I am recommending a promotion of Justin Kaiser to the rank of sergeant.
How do you spell his last name?
Keiser.
I want to thank Alderman Clark, too, for setting in on all those interviews. I know it's time-consuming doing that, but I think it's important somebody from the board get a look at that, too. And the only other thing I want to mention to the police department, I think we as a city board want to send a message to you and your department that it is important on certain positions within your department to promote from within. I think if I worked for your department and I thought there was never an opportunity for me to move up the ladder, and I was going to be here 3 years in a training ground and go east to get a better job, I'd be gone right away. So I think it is crucial that we take a look within and any chance and time we get the opportunity.
Very good.
Any discussion on the Chief Howdyshell's recommendation?
Make a motion to...
If I may, sir, can we add the increase in salary as well to $19.50 an hour?
To the motion?
Yes.
I don't see why not.
Thank you.
I have had the opportunity to work with Justin Kaiser over the past several years. Had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Thorne about the candidates. I'm familiar with all of them, but certainly if the recommendation is Mr. Kaiser, he does good work. I will also say that I appreciate the fact that within the last few years, as he began to start his family, he didn't always work in or live in the area. He made a conscious decision to become part of this community and moved and purchased a home in the community, and I think that's important. So I'll make a motion to approve the chief's recommendation of promoting Justin Kaiser to the rank of sergeant and a pay raise to the $19.50 an hour.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Cornell, seconded by Alderman Casterly, I believe first there, that we approve the appointment to the sergeant's position for Justin Kaiser at the rate of $19.50 an hour. Roll call, please.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I don't feel so bad about congratulating him earlier, and he's like, what are you talking about? And I saw him this afternoon, so I figured he had seen the agenda.
Figure he knew it. Yeah. You took the wind out of the chief's sail. And that's it?
Yeah.
Chief? Mr. Gavers, Public Works Director, you're
I had
on.
to take my vote back
Mayor,
though,
Board.
just to make John go back.
First item we got is the monthly report.
Pretty exciting stuff there, Guy.
Yeah. If you got any questions, we'll move on to.
Yeah, I did have use camera 4,496 feet. Is that related to the problem we had over there, or is that just routine stuff?
Yes, sir. That's where we focused all our camera work on. And we found 2 issues where people's water service was broken at their house, was running into the sewer. So the homeowners addressed that and took care of that. So we found some things, and we've also located some manholes that need to be addressed. And when it gets a little warmer, we'll have I've talked to 3 companies on their product, and then they're going to do a demo for me on all 3 of them. And then when the weather breaks and gets a little warmer, then we can proceed with that.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question for you on major projects completed in wastewater. Or you see that item?
I will in a second.
And the last one on that issue, my question is, you installed a new spider gear in Fairgrounds lift station and a muffin monster. What is a muffin monster?
Yeah, but why don't we start first with the spider gear?
I think I know what a spider gear is, but
Muffin monster is like a grit chamber where all the flow runs into this box. And there's a conveyor on it, and it picks the trash up and dumps it into the trash can. That avoids all that going into the lift station and going into the pump.
okay.
Spider gear, but
It also refers to me running loose in the bakery.
Holy moly.
And that is the correct termination for
what?
Muffin monster.
He didn't just come up with that on his own.
I was wondering.
I didn't make that one up. Any questions?
That was my only question.
Oh, God.
The next item I have is taking over just the streets at Walnut Hollow, Plat 1.
There's quite a bit of repair work they did for this,
Yes, sir.
were the streets repaired to the level that we won't have to go back and do that much work?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I think there will be some happy individuals out in Walnut Hollow for the next snowstorm when it arrives. And my phone won't be ringing there as much either.
So we need a motion to accept the Meadows of Walnut Hollow Plat 1 streets.
There's an ordinance on later.
Okay.
Any other further discussion on that? Any questions from the board? Okay, we're good on that.
We're going to make flyers up too and distribute them to the people out there, let them know
Let them know.
what our rules are, and so they're familiar with it.
Putting everybody's friendly faces on them, too. Yeah.
And then the next item I have is to hire as a meter reader, Ryan Cheddick, at $12 an hour.
No, he's replacing someone that left or
That's correct.
quit or resigned or whatever. Okay. Any discussion on the hiring approval? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Ryan Chaddick, $12 an hour as a meter reader.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Cornell, seconded by Alderman Flake for the approval to hire Ryan Chaddick at the amount of $12 an hour as a meter reader in the Public Works Department. Roll call, please.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. What else, Guy?
I believe that's it.
That's it?
I appreciate it.
Thanks for all the late hours.
Nice guy.
I'm ready for Jack, Planning and Zoning Director.
First item I have is the monthly report for building and property maintenance, code enforcement.
I noticed there's 9 sign violations. Could you kind of give us an update as to how signs have been going that have been in the state right-of-way? It appears, just from my casual driving, that most of them are removed during the week. Is that,
I have not received any calls with any complaints for signs in state right-of-way, and per the board's direction, we have not removed any signs.
I don't think there's been any to remove, though, is my point. I don't think I've seen any.
I'm not aware of any problems
Okay.
to date, sir.
Thank you.
If you have no further questions, my next item is a request to extend the 60-day requirement for the recording of the plat for the Meadows at Walnut Hollow Plat 3, a re-subdivision of lots 188 through 210 and 215 through 225 of the Meadows of Walnut Hollow Plat 1 to 95 days. On November 25th, I received a request from St. Louis Bank to extend the 60-day requirement for the recording of the plat. This plat was not recorded within the 60-day requirement, and the reason was they were having trouble getting the escrows established. It's $386,247.50 worth of escrows. It took them a little longer to get that in place.
So is it your recommendation that we make that extension?
Yes, that way they're
Okay.
making a legal plat.
Make a motion, we extend the request on Meadows of Walnut Hollow.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Clark to approve the extension of the 60-day requirement to record the Meadows of Walnut Plat 3. Is that correct, Jack? Is that what you're asking for?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Next item I have is the proposed amendment to section 425 sign regulations, 80 and 63, and it is to include temporary signs as a permitted sign within the RC1 and RC2 zoning districts. Right now, our sign code does not allow temporary signs in the RC1 and RC2 zoning district. On November 5th, the board passed ordinance number 2123 authorizing a 45-day moratorium to allow temporary signs within this zoning district until our code can be corrected. This change will allow property owners to advertise their property for sale. Basically, this was missed when the sign regulations section was rewrote in September 2012, when we were changing all the signs since we could no longer regulate by content, and we just missed this one section.
Let me ask a question to Counselor. I don't think any of us have an issue with somebody putting a for sale sign in their property to sell it, but this seems to be written pretty broad. So there's a business periodically that has a temporary sign sitting in its business yard on Highway 47 advertising a business in Wright City. Is that considered a temporary sign that this would allow?
Yes. This will allow it. I think the issue, Alderman Ock, is there's a state statute that says you cannot limit basically our temporary signs for the sale of real estate. The problem is I think under the current 8th Circuit opinion on signs, that statute has some constitutionality issues. Now, it's not been challenged, but I think there's some constitutionality issues. Realistically speaking, I don't think we can differentiate under that 8th Circuit opinion the content of whether it advertises a business in Wright City or whether or not that residence for sale anymore. So there's a statutory right to have a unchallenged statute right now to have a for sale sign. 8th Circuit says you can't regulate content. I think the best product we can put out there is you're allowed to have a temporary sign. Now, one of the things we can do is we can restrict the distance between these temporary signs in the RC district, which would be what I would suggest, Alderman Ock, is we may be able to, they can only be this far apart, or you can only have this many temporary signs on your property or something along those lines. But under the current constitutional interpretation of the case law, I don't believe you can differentiate between a for sale, a political sign, or, advertising a business in Wright City, as long as it doesn't get to something that's, obscene, and then we can go on and on about what is obscene.
But then why would I not want to, to me, I understand what you're saying, but to me, it just doesn't seem right that we can't regulate signs that aren't intended for the personal use of the property owner. So if the property owner wants to sell their property, we all understand it's logical. They should be allowed to put a sign in the yard saying, I'm selling my home. But if they want to put a sign there saying, go to the restaurant at Big Boys because I really like it, that's not logical in the sense of what we're trying to do. And even though the court says that, do we have to follow the court that close into this challenge?
The problem is we had Alderman Hawkins, we had the ACLU called when we were basically essentially doing the regulation, saying that, you guys need to get this ordinance fixed, here's a case law. I looked at it and I said, I agree with the ACLU's opinion on this, with regards to this 8th Circuit case. It just is a matter of, do you have to follow what the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, they are the Court of Appeals, or federal law that, regulates this area. Obviously, my opinion is I have to say, yes, you have to follow the law. If you don't, then it just is a question of, well, what if the ACLU gets back involved, or somebody does sue, or somebody does that, you expose the city to liability. And that's really where the question becomes. I think you would expose, and I would be fearful of a situation in which we've already been put on notice, because we had the issues with the political signs, which essentially was the same thing. You can't differentiate what is there. It is years and years of law, prior constitutional law, about signs to say you can basically regulate some fundamental aspects of, the signage and what's on the signage, but they've struck that down, and now you can't regulate it at all. I think this is the safest way to do it. And like I said, I think you can regulate size, you can regulate distance, you can regulate material, but I don't think you can regulate what it says on there if it says Big Boys or it says for sale.
So if I decide that I'm sitting on Highway 47 and I can go to a business somewhere and say, hey, would you like to put your company's temporary sign in my yard, shop here, whether it's in Warrenton or Wright City or whatever, I can advertise that. So then I would say I don't want to vote for this. So then the question is, what alternative does that person have who's selling their property short of the sign? But if they stuck it in the window, is that considered a temporary sign?
I don't think we consider that a temporary sign.
There's definitions for window signs.
Yeah, there's window signs that are considered different ones. It's the sign that sticks in the yard with the real estate agent's face on it that says open house.
I think that Ms. Irma would say you don't get the visibility of a sign in the window like you do of it sticking in the yard.
Well, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, how do we pass an ordinance that allows anybody to enter into a business relationship with somebody else to advertise their business in my yard? So if I have a great corner, hey, you want to put your business sign here? We'll stick it up as a temporary sign. The city can't touch it, can't do anything about it. Is that what we want to do?
I can tell you, I don't like it personally. I don't like the way the opinion came down. It came down, Alderman Ock, with an eminent domain issue, a sign about eminent domain, and I thought the regulations were within the prior constitutional framework, but obviously the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals probably really doesn't care what I have to say about, whether or not that's within the constitutional framework. Realistically speaking, it's where it is right now. And the problem is we have heightened scrutiny, I feel, out here in Warrenton for a variety of reasons, plus the fact that we've already had the ACLU called to say, you guys are enforcing an ordinance under this case that, and I have to give the opinion and say, guys, I think they're right. We are where we are, and, we're doing what we're doing. On a personal level, and I know you don't want my personal opinion, but I don't disagree with you. However, this is the framework we have to work around, and this is what the courts say about the signs. I don't know that there's a way to recognize the right to a temporary sign for real estate purposes, which is a state statute, and to give, and to not have a content-neutral regulation. I guess what you could do is you could say, we're not going to allow temporary signs in this district, and then have the real estate association challenge, our ordinance, which I think they would have issues challenging that ordinance because it's, the statute is no longer, I think, in compliance with the Circuit Court of Appeals. I don't think their lawyers would agree with me, but I think it's pretty clear. But, yeah, I mean, it's not an easy situation to navigate through.
One of my comments, your sign with the business of Wright City is gone. Have you noticed that's not been there for?
No, but it's been there periodically over the last year for weeks on end.
Well,
I know.
I'm wondering why they haven't come out and put it in the state right away.
Well, that, they could do that, but
On
as
weekends.
long as that property owner doesn't care, they can put it in the property, you don't have to deal with the state, worrying about the state picking it, because we can't clear it out anyway.
I had a complaint on the sign advertising the business, and that's when I think I went to Jack with it, and we realized there were not supposed to be any temporary signs in that R1 or RC1 district. And then you eliminate like the flower shop on the other side of the street, and she puts out the dozen red roses sign, for $39.95. Now you're telling that business she can't advertise her stuff either, so it's a no-win deal. You have to be, it's a slippery slope whichever way you go.
You've got rental houses along there that want to post for rent signs. You've got, I mean, there is a property right there, and quite honestly, all of these issues, in my opinion, fall back to, if I own a piece of property there and it's for sale, I want to have the ability to advertise it for sale. If I have a house there that is for rent, I want to be able to have it for rent. And you're not going to be able to regulate out every incident that may smack us as unfair, such as advertising a business outside of the city of Warrenton.
I think ultimately, Alderman Ock, what I would opine of what could happen is, I think that if the controversy is ever ripe enough, the statute that protects real estate agents and real estate's rights to put for sale signs in property, I think that statute will be struck down under the Ice Circuit case. And I think cities will be left with the option of saying whether or not you're going to say no temporary signs or you can't have temporary signs. And that's realistically what I think where we'll end up. Now, if you didn't pass this ordinance, that could become right here. But I don't know if that's what the intended effect is. I mean, I think it's fascinating. I don't know if, the citizens would.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I made my point ad nauseum, but, if I owned a restaurant downtown, and I drove down Main Street and saw a Big Boy's sign sitting there, I'd go, hey, wait a minute, they're not paying city taxes, they're not bringing revenue into the city, they're not doing all this stuff, and yet you allow this?
And I'm not disagreeing with how that hits you, but it does change the fact that that is on the lot. The people that own Big Boys also own that lot. So they are using their lot to advertise their business. Their business just doesn't happen to be in Warrenton. I'm not disagreeing with where you're coming from. I'm a shop local guy, but
Okay, I think we're ready to move on to the next amendment, section 405.
I wish I had started keeping track of how long we talked about signs when I.
I know.
I'd like to keep a tally, just talking about signs.
Yeah, they're interesting.
It's been that way for years.
Okay, this is a request to change section 405.185, the OPR district, it was ADM 64, and it's to remove the public hearing requirement and change the application time to a minimum of 10 days prior to the Planning and Zoning Commission's regularly scheduled meeting. This request is a result from meeting with city staff and Paul Owenby, the Warren County Fair Association's president, regarding our existing special event permit application approval procedures. The Fair Board's requesting this revision because they feel the existing 90-day requirement to submit an application is too far out, and they don't want to turn down possible events at the fairgrounds.
They were happy with the 10-day, but they thought that was a doable time frame.
The only one I've had personal contact with is Paul Owenby, the president, and yes.
Good.
I assume that's why they're not here tonight.
Here's my issue.
Excuse me?
Well, I understand that the 10 days and change of that. Why eliminate the public hearing? It has to go before P&Z anyway. Can't you hold a public hearing and P&Z meeting at the same time? Why would you want to eliminate the public hearing?
Because of the time frame. You cannot do a public hearing within 10 days. By the time I advertise it in the paper, then you kick it back out a month.
It's the public notice for the public hearing that becomes the time frame.
Yes.
What's the time frame on that? 30 days?
for a public hearing.
Yeah.
I think the technical public hearing requires 14 days prior to the meeting. And because our paper only comes out once a week, it sometimes makes that period longer.
And then you add the deadline to get it submitted to the paper.
We're talking only about basically events at the fairgrounds?
In the OPR district,
That's
yes.
only district, that's in the district, right?
The OPR.
The fairgrounds and our ball fields.
Our recreation.
A ball field in town by the school?
For your.
Or just for
The city's
Recreation.
recreation ground is
up
OPR.
north?
Yes, sir.
So it's just those two places?
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions, concerns?
I'm glad to see us trying to resolve that issue for the fair board. I think we've worked well with them, and I think this
Well,
continues.
hopefully we're opening the door to have them proceed in compliance with code.
Yep.
How about item E, discount tire at 2405 Highway 47 North?
This is a proposed site plan approval for Discount Tire Inc. Store for the property located at 2405 North Highway 47. This property is currently zoned C3 Highway Commercial. It is site plan number 76. Per Appendix A, this use is permitted along with a conditional use permit approval, and the applicant has turned in the conditional use permit approval along with his site plan, letter of intent within the packet. The Public Works Director has reviewed and approved the site plan request regarding items directly related to the Public Works Department. And I'd also like to clarify a few items that was mentioned during the public hearing section. I received this request on November the 1st. So it has not been 3 months. The total fees for a site plan application is a $125 application fee and a $400 plan review fee. That's the total fees. There is a $300 publication deposit that once the ads are ran in the paper, the balance is refunded to the applicant. And per code, sidewalks are required on all commercial projects. The applicant has been informed that if they would desire to pay into the city sidewalk fund, they can. The current rate approved by Public Works is $20.50 per foot. That site would require approximately 98 linear foot of sidewalk, which would be $2,009. They can install the sidewalk there if they prefer not to pay into the sidewalk fund. And the board would have to approve their request to pay into the sidewalk fund.
What was planning and zoning's take on the sidewalk fund?
They did not have an issue with them paying into the sidewalk fund. We did the same thing with the trading post site just north of this.
The other question that came up in the P&Z meeting was the storage of tires not in the building, in a trailer.
Yes, I was going to address that in the conditional use part, but basically what they recommended was that there would be no outdoor storage of tires, new or used, and that all service work would be performed indoors. Mr. Thompson was here to address them items, and I believe that's what their plan is, and he is here tonight if you have any direct questions for him.
You have an operation at 4046 Cypress in St. Anne?
That's actually an office.
Okay. The only reason I bring up the truck piece is we've had a history in this community of tractor trailers being used for storage, and it isn't always a pretty sight because people put tractor trailers out there to deteriorate, get flat tires, and it distracts from the whole look of stuff. So is your intent to put the trailer behind the building, or?
We actually have a lot behind, located right directly behind the building. It's outside of the public.
Okay, all right.
It's kind of like pretty, I don't know if you guys have seen, it's Greg Guy, it's the old fence company, is actually where it's located.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Steve?
This is where the people that they have.
Yeah, I'll make an exception, but you came in late, you'd missed the public thing. And I will allow you to address the board during this time if you want to come forward. Normally, we wouldn't, I mean, that's why we have the open, or public hearings early, but I assume you travel quite some distance to get here. And would you give us your name, please?
Sure. Mayor and Board of Aldermen and Alderwoman. Randy Hine, and I'm a resident of Bridgeton. I can appreciate your hard work. I too am in city government. I'm a councilman in the city of Bridgeton, where I live. I stand here before you tonight representing my mother, who is Marilyn Hine, and the current owner of the property on Highway 47, directly across from the site where Discount Tire is proposing to build and asking for the conditional use permit. The family farm has been in the family for over 100 years. I'm actually a fourth generation descendant. My affiliation with the city of Warrenton spans 54 years, my age. Used to come and visit my great-grandmother down here on the side street that runs into Oak there at the corner on the, it would be the southwest corner. That's where she lived in the city and had the farm out there on Highway 47, a mile north of Highway 70. And my brother's with us too, Richard Hine. Our father just passed away October 19th. But our opposition to this is we think this type of commercial business in this area would adversely affect the property value of not only our farmland, but other farms in the area there. So that's basically what I wanted to talk to you about tonight.
So do you envision any kind of business there that would not impact your property?
Other than farm-related?
Yeah.
Or residential?
Well, I mean, that whole strip on both sides of the road is commercial.
The zone commercial?
Yeah, is that not correct?
Yes, C3.
It's C3 up and down, so, so we can't say to the property owner, you can't develop within a commercial district. Now, we can put conditions on it that would make it more amenable, but I don't think we can deny them the use of their ground for the intended purpose. Now, if you had a problem because the spotlight was going to shoot over into your mother's yard or house, then that would be a condition. We could say, okay, no spotlights that would interfere with the surrounding property, but I don't know how would you make this feel any better? We can't say you just can't develop it.
Sure. Well,
I mean, if a C-store went across there, instead of a tire store, what I mean, would you feel the same way that would be?
I think that would decrease the property value.
As well?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm kind of thinking just the opposite. I think as it develops up there, even though it's probably not the development you want, because, I mean, we're all from here and we're pretty, particular on our open property, but if it's commercial, it could increase the value of yours as well if things develop like that.
Yeah. We're looking probably at somewhere down the line, maybe subdividing the property for residential use. And as far as that goes, we feel that the commercial use across the street would decline the value of residential property.
But on the other hand, if you have acreage that goes back, you could develop the front acreage and for residential, and the acreage by the road is commercial. I would assume the commercial would draw a higher dollar value than the residential would, so that may be a value because it's zone commercial on your side too.
That's possible, possibly not though.
Yeah, well, it's speculation.
You're kind of in a unique area because there's several agricultural farms all right in the row along there.
Right.
And they've been able to stay isolated and stay undeveloped and very, very unique. But at some point in time, probably the price of that land is going to get high enough where they're going to start letting some of that commercial go. Can't tell you when, but someday.
Sure.
Well, we certainly understand your plight.
Okay.
On there. So
I appreciate it. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I forgot where we're at here. Oh, we're still on the...
Still Jack's meeting.
Yep, still Jack's topic.
We haven't got the catering yet.
Yeah.
Any further questions on the site plan request? The next item is conditional use approval for the property, for the Discount Tire Inc. store for the property located at 2405 North Highway 47. This property is Zone C3 Highway Commercial. Per Appendix A, this is a permitted use with conditional use approval. Motion for approval passed 7-0 with 3 absent at the December 5th P&Z Commission's meeting with the following conditions: no outdoor storage of tires, new or used, and all service work to be performed indoors.
Any questions or concerns? I know Guy had mentioned about the sidewalk requirement, as you being the owner of the building and so forth, and that whole stretch of highway is a concern for the city because there's too many pedestrians and there's no place for them to walk. And at some point in time, and someday in time, that highway needs to be widened, and hopefully MoDOT's going to come in and put some shoulders on it, and walking lanes or paths, but my point with the city is, even though we get a sidewalk for your stretch or your property owner today, maybe in 3 or 4 years, we get some more more businesses open up and we keep extending that sidewalk, and someday we have a sidewalk. So that's kind of our requirement. But we do give you that option to pay into we know you might be the only sidewalk going to nowhere, and we give you that option to pay into a sidewalk fund. And at some point in time, if we have to put them in ourselves, we will draw from that sidewalk fund. So I know it doesn't make it any easier on you as a property owner, so been down that road myself. What else, Jack?
The only other thing I'd just like to clarify that there's a $125 filing fee for the conditional use permit approval, and also a $300 publication deposit. The balance will be refunded once the ads are ran in the paper.
Okay.
And Mayor and Board, the only thing I would suggest with the sidewalk, if you guys do allow the payment to sidewalk, is possibly amend to add the condition that they do the dedication for the right-of-way area, or the area we would eventually do a sidewalk, so we wouldn't have to come back later and either try to purchase that or acquire that, if that would be okay.
On there.
We need to address that when we address the bill at the end of the agenda.
I think you would probably add it as part of the conditional use, either to install or pay in the amount of $2,000 the sidewalk, and also dedicate to the city, the appropriate right-of-way or usage, because otherwise, what that's going to be to try to acquire it later.
I don't know, Guy, do you understand what he's asking?
Basically like an easement.
Yeah, basically an easement for the sidewalk.
That if we do have to come back and put that sidewalk in, we've got the easement to do it on your property. Is that an issue with you?
We can discuss that on a different day.
I'm sorry.
So we can discuss that on a different day.
Okay.
Well, I think today is today.
I don't think we can if we're going to approve this here, so that's probably going to be.
I mean, you don't know right now whether you're going to put the sidewalk in or not. Am I right on that?
I have to make sure that we meet all the regulations. I can get the sidewalk put in, but I need to make sure it passes city codes, city regulations. And that's something that we can't do this evening.
We would need a revised site plan then, because there's no sidewalk shown on the...
I'm amenable to having a sidewalk put in. I've already given you the fact that you're going to have to spend $2,000 for a sidewalk put in. So, it's a given there. In order to get tax money coming into this town and have a renter in my building, you'll have sidewalk there.
Well, that's not the given. The given is you pay into the fund or you put the sidewalk in.
Guys, if I'm understanding correctly, Mr. Guide is willing to pay into the sidewalk fund.
Right.
If I understand your attorney's point is that it needs to be, in other words, an assessment of property needs to be factored.
We need the easement, the land dedication as well. If
We're
we're
an
going to...
easement would have to be recorded, and that's a separate, complete deal.
Right, but-
Conditional use permit.
Well, but I think they can make it a condition if part of the consideration is the sidewalk fund or And we've done that in the past. So it's, historically, we've done that when we've allowed to pay in the sidewalk fund. And there was a long period of time where they didn't allow people to really pay in the sidewalk fund. But in this particular circumstance where you guys are located, if they do allow you to pay in the sidewalk fund, I'm just reminding the board and the mayor to say we also need to require as a condition an easement for dedication of the land for the sidewalk as well. So either you can put it in and there's no additional requirement, or you can pay into the sidewalk fund, the city can put it in later, but also we make sure we get the land dedication now for where the sidewalk would go in.
Which would put you through for 1 more month.
No, they can amend it. They were just asking if you guys were amenable and whether you guys wanted to pay in or whether you guys.
Well, obviously, he's gonna pay in, like I said, the property's gonna be available, but what you're saying is location-wise, back onto the site permit plan, like that. In other words, what you need is information is actually where that property's gonna go, where that sidewalk's gonna be located.
No.
I think Jack was saying that if they are now going to put the sidewalks in, we need a revised site plan showing the sidewalks before we approve it, correct?
Which would delay it 30 days, which you don't want to do. So it'd be simpler to pay into the fund, but we just need to have an easement so we could come on when we put the sidewalk on, so we could come out and put it in.
I understand.
Yeah, it would just be amending the ordinance with the added condition of an easement for easement to dedicate property to the city for sidewalk.
Which is completely understandable.
Yeah, makes sense. I don't need to be confusing about it.
Okay. Jack, are you finished?
Yeah, and I think Mr. Gravel can clarify this, but as long as that sidewalk fund's in place prior to them opening, that does not have to be taken care of immediately. I mean, they would have time to draft that easement up, so we can get it approved and paid into.
The easement doesn't need to be done.
That wouldn't hold you up
And we
tonight.
could probably even do it on the drawing of your plot plan, when you guys have engineering on it. I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware, it's not just 2,000, it's a dedication for the
Sure,
land.
quite understand. We'll have to go back to the engineering office the next day and pencil it in back in the.
Yeah, that's easy, we can.
And with it being just a straight shot across the front of it, it would be real easy to write a 10-foot wide easement.
Okay. All right. That it?
That's it for me.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, guys.
We've been waiting to get to the catering.
This is my most exciting part. Melody, you want to talk about the catering?
This is just the catering bid for the awards banquet. My recommendation is to go with Splendid Catering, which is the lowest bid for $1,800.
I make a motion that we go with Splendid Catering for the awards banquet in January for the amount of $1,800.
Below bid. Second.
Motion by Alderman Kessley, seconded by Alderman Cornell to approve the low bid of Splendid Catering for the awards banquet in January 11, 2014, in the amount of $1,800. Roll call, please.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
I don't know, I'm kind of torn, I like steak better, and it's $1 more.
You like what?
I like the steak dinners better, and it's $1 more.
I went with chicken.
Okay, yes. Chicken.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. You're the easiest one.
I do have one more thing, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Brad asked me to tell everybody that the cable channel is now looking wonderful and excellent because they've replaced the cable behind City Hall and they did some little tweaking to
Great.
radio waves or something
My
like that.
phone will stop ringing.
And they photoshopped us. We're
According to
all
Brad, it is
size
the best it has ever looked in its entire life.
Good. Good. I'm
lost.
Channel 3.
telling we
Channel
thank you
3
for
is
that.
finally working again.
I've got
So you flip on channel 3 and you.
108, sorry.
That's why I can't ever get on my TV.
108.1.
It's 108.1, sorry. We'll
I've
have
got
it that hard.
some bills to ordinances, and I'm ready for bill number 52-13.
Make a motion to first reading of bill number 52-13 to accept streets.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Clark for first reading of bill number 52-13.
An ordinance accepting land as road and utility easements which are known as Walnut Lake Lane, Walnut Lake Court, Walnut Springs Lane, Walnut Springs Court, Walnut Hollow Drive, Walnut Grove Lane, Walnut Grove Court, and Walnut Hill Lane of the subdivision known as Meadows of Walnut Hollow, Plat 1 by the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
Call for second final reading and passage of bill number 52-13.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Flake, seconded by Alderman Carnell for second final reading and passage of bill number 52-13.
An ordinance accepting land as road and utility easements which are known as Walnut Lake Lane, Walnut Lake Court, Walnut Springs Lane, Walnut Springs Court, Walnut Hollow Drive, Walnut Grove Lane, Walnut Grove Court, and Walnut Hill Lane of the subdivision known as Meadows of Walnut Hollow, Plat 1 by the City of Warrenton, Missouri.
Is there any discussion or concerns? Roll call, please.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Bill number 53-13.
Call for the first reading of bill number 53-13.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Clark, seconded by Alderman Dreyer for first reading of bill number 53-13.
An ordinance amending Chapter 425 sign regulations of the municipal code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri regarding temporary signs in the RC1 and RC2 zoning districts.
Call for second final reading and passage of bill number 53-13.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Clark, motion by Alderman Flake, seconded by Alderman Carnell for second and final reading and passage of bill number 53-13.
An ordinance amending Chapter 425 sign regulations of the municipal code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri regarding temporary signs in the RC1 and RC2 zoning districts.
Any further discussion or concerns? Roll call, please.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
No.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-1. Alderman Ock, you want to comment on your negative vote?
Well, it wasn't a negative vote, it's a no vote.
No vote? No negative vote?
Well, I mean, I explained quite a bit. I have a real problem with us allowing temporary signs that would allow businesses of any type to appear on a basis where it's not necessary. I mean, the argument before, when we were building streets, was, well, these people didn't know where the houses were for sale because they're new residents and not on GPS, and therefore it was harder to sell them. Well, these are all established properties, so you can always take the case. Well, you don't need a sign, you can go with your GPS and look it up to find it. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. I'm ready for bill number 54-13.
Call for the first reading of bill number 54-13.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Clark, seconded by Alderman Dreyer for first reading of bill number 54-13.
An ordinance amending Section 405.185 OPR outdoor public recreation of the municipal code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, modifying special event permit.
Call for second final reading and passage of bill number 54-13.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Flake, seconded by Alderman Cornell for second and final reading and passage of bill number 54-13.
An ordinance amending Section 405.185 OPR outdoor public recreation of the municipal code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, modifying special event permit.
Any further discussion or concerns? Roll call.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
No.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Motion carried 5-1. Any comments, Alderman Ock?
Just oppose the elimination of the public hearings. I think we could have went something short of 10 days and still got the public hearing in.
Okay. Bill number 55-13.
Call for a first reading of bill number 55-13.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Dreyer, seconded by Alderman Clark for first reading of bill number 55-13.
A zoning ordinance is authorized under Section 405.390 of the Municipal Code of the City of Warrenton, Missouri, approving a site plan for Discount Tire Incorporated located at 2405 North Highway 47.
Call for second final reading and passage of bill number 55-13.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Flake, seconded by Alderman Cornell for second and final reading and passage of bill number 55-13.
A zoning ordinance as authorized under section 405.390 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri, approving a site plan for Discount Tire Incorporated located at 2405 North Highway 47.
Any further discussion or concerns? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Bill number 56-13.
Call for a first reading of bill number 56-13.
Second.
Is this one that we need to amend?
Yeah, to add the easement language.
When do we add the amendment to it? On the reading? First reading?
I think the motion with the amended language added would probably be the right way to handle it, because we're going to actually tweak the amendments a little bit.
Okay.
And then we'll print out a new one for you to sign, Mayor.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So you need a fresh motion.
Yes.
I've got a motion from Alderman Dreyer.
But we need a fresh amended one.
But we need to add the conditional use information. You want to help us with that?
Yeah, how about a motion to, a motion for first reading of bill number 56-13 with the additional condition of an easement dedication to the city for a sidewalk.
Okay.
You also need to include payment in the sidewalk fund.
And payment in the sidewalk fund. Did you get that, Melanie?
No, go slower.
Do we really? I have to do it again?
Yes, you do.
A motion for first reading of bill number 56-13 with the amended conditions of an easement dedication to the city for a sidewalk and payment to the city sidewalk fund per city code.
Got it?
Yes.
Got a motion on the floor from Alderman Dreyer. I'm just looking for a second.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Dreyer, seconded by Alderman Casterly for first reading of bill number 56-13.
An ordinance approving the conditional use to allow motor vehicle service and repair for Discount Tire Incorporated located at 2405 North Highway 47.
Call for second final reading and passage of bill number 56-13.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Flake, seconded by Alderman Clark for second final reading and passage of bill number 56-13.
An ordinance approving the conditional use to allow motor vehicle service and repair for Discount Tire Incorporated located at 2405 North Highway 47.
Further discussion or concerns? Roll call, please.
Alderperson Casterly?
Yes.
Alderman Ock?
Yes.
Alderman Clark?
Yes.
Alderman Dreyer?
Yes.
Alderman Flake?
Yes.
Alderman Cornell?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. I have nothing else on my agenda, so I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Cornell, by Alderman Dreyer, second by Alderman Dreyer. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, likewise.
See you around.
Adjourned.